Hey everybody, I'm Ryan McCaffrey with IGN, joined by Respawn founder and boss man Vince Zampella. How you doing, sir?
Doing all right.
So we're looking at some Titanfall. We're playing the beta here. This is Last Titan Standing. Obviously, Vince, it's a big moment coming up for you. You're about to get your first game out in quite some time. And my first question for you is, how long have you been kicking this idea around in your head? I mean, is this where you had wanted to go in your past life, or is this something new that sort of occurred to you more recently?
It was one of those things. We didn't have an idea when we started the company.
Yeah.
So we kind of sat down, we formed the company, we had a whole bunch of people joined us real quick. So we had this great team of experienced developers. We sat down and said, okay, what's the game now?
Yeah.
So it was a whole lot of fighting over, hey, no, this idea is great, this idea is great. This is, it wasn't like everyone sat down and said, we're making Titanfall.
Yeah.
So after a while of prototyping, working, evaluating technologies, evaluating game ideas, prototyping some ideas, and kind of seeing, what was fun and what wasn't, it finally came down to, okay, this was it. And once we settled on it, we kind of locked into, okay, now what exactly does that mean? What is Titanfall?
Was it always going to be a first-person shooter? Because I mean, even going all the way back to 2015, that's all you've ever done, I think.
Prior to 2015, we'd done some other stuff, or
okay.
I had anyway.
So a long time ago.
A long time ago. Yeah, it feels like forever. Yes, we kind of, it's our core competency, so you don't want to go too far from what you've done. So yeah, it made sense that it was going to be a first-person shooter, but we wanted to take it kind of past what had been done before. We wanted to do something new.
Yeah. So
it was about what can we do that feels familiar, so you can pick it up and easily play it, but yet kind of broke those boundaries that were in place. So this is what we came up with.
What's the most radical idea for this game that ended up on the cutting room floor?
Oh, I don't know if I can get into those because they might come back at some point. Yeah.
Fair enough.
There were some crazy ones though.
What about talk to me about the decision to not have a single-player campaign in this game? I mean, is it purely a time issue, like it was going to take another year or two or whatever, or is a campaign somewhere you want to take Titanfall eventually, or do you think campaigns are just a dying breed for the kind of game you want to make?
It just came down to we're a startup studio with limited resources, limited time. So it was, what can we do? We want to focus our energies on what we can do right. So we look at, for us, multiplayer was important.
Yeah.
So then you look at how much of these resources that you have do you put into single player versus multiplayer. Generally, it's very single player heavy.
Right, sure.
So then multiplayer suffers. So for us, if it was about making the best multiplayer experience ever, it just made sense to say, okay, what can we do on one end, what can we do to make that experience better?
Yeah.
And it was taking those moments out of single player and putting them into multiplayer. So it's kind of a double win, where we don't have to waste time on the campaign that people are going to breeze through,
in 5 hours.
In 5 hours if they play it at all, and then go play hundreds of hours on the multiplayer. So this was obviously an important piece. Put those moments in. Like, why not make this world? Why isn't this world as engaging and engrossing as the single player world?
So we haven't seen a lot of that. I mean, we saw a little taste of it at your E3 reveal, but we don't really see any of that in the beta. So how exactly is that going to work in the game?
Well, I think you do see it, because what you see, you see things going on around you. All those things, it's not just about here's the Stark world, make it as stark as possible so it's Team A versus Team B.
Right.
It's, there's AI, there's things going on, there's ships flying in and dropping. It's all that stuff kind of really brings the world to life. And that's what's important. It's not a single player game with multiplayer.
Sure.
It is bringing the universe, bringing that context into multiplayer and making it more believable, more engaging, more alive. So that's what it's really about.
Something that isn't even shown to you, at least in the beta, that I heard about as almost an urban legend that I then was able to try out for myself. You can hack the enemy specters.
That's right.
Are there other sorts of little things in there that you just that you just leave for people to find?
I hope so. I mean, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Even when you watch people play the game, there's just the way they engage things and approach things is, like, yeah, we didn't think you could do that, but that's really cool.
Yeah. Now, what about? I mean, you're a human being, so how much is sticking it to your former employer a motivating factor for making this game as awesome as possible?
I like to think it's not. To us, it wasn't about revenge. It was about making the best game possible.
If it just so happens to be better than what...
Honestly, I mean, Call of Duty is something that I'm proud of. I worked on it for many years. So it's something that I'm really proud of. So to me, it's not about that at all. I mean, it really is just about, we're going to make this game. It's going to be great. We have to make this the best we can make it. And that's what's the focus.
Now, is it a coincidence that some of this, because I think it does feel, if you're a Call of Duty player, there are a lot of familiar feelings. I actually feel like the controls are sort of right at home, just from even the locomotion, just the way you look and aim. Even we can see the interface fonts are the same. Is that a conscious decision on your part to just make it as easy as possible for someone that's been playing that game for a long time to come over and feel comfortable with Titanfall?
I mean, I think the goals were to make it as easy and fun as possible for anyone who's playing it. I don't know that, it's just what feels natural, what feels right. It's not about trying to copy Call of Duty.
Well, of course not. But it certainly is pretty easy for anybody that is familiar with Call of Duty to jump right in. Although you got to get used to, I'm seeing a lot of early players, they're not really using their jetpacks.
That's right.
In the early part. That's something you got to train yourself to do.
Yeah, I think that's just, a side effect of making the game fun, easy to control, but yet deep, and that just kind of makes it similar to other games that might have the same features.
What would you say the biggest lesson you've learned from your years of building Call of Duty for so many years that you've applied here?
Oh, I don't know. That was so long ago. Who can remember?
Well, what about, let's talk about the engine for a minute before I let you go, before this, we've got a couple minutes left in this round. How'd you end up settling on Source? Because, obviously you're starting a new studio. It's a big decision. Like, okay, now that we've thought about what our game is going to be, how do we build it?
We picked Source originally because it was something that we could iterate on very fast. And, at that point we were making, this was before all the Xbox One existed. So it was about, what can we do? We wanted to get 60. So it was, anything can we use that we can iterate on fast that we think we can hit 60 with, and we just ended up settling on Source Engine.
So
it's a heavily modified Source Engine, by the way. So
what's a favorite moment during playtesting that stood out for you?
I would say seeing when people start to get rodeoed, when they have someone on their back.
Yeah.
I'm watching them jump out, shoot the guy, jump back. That ease of just how quickly people kind of get used to that. So it's not such a killer threat.
Well, I guess that's probably the one other thing I wanted to ask you, because that's one of my biggest takeaways from the game is that it is so. We're seeing the rodeo right now. That it is so easy to move around and do stuff. That jumping up on rodeoing another Titan is as easy as just double jumping on their back. You don't have to hold X or do a QTE or anything like that. Was that a conscious decision along the way that it just doing what you want is as easy as possible?
Yeah, I think always, right? You want it to be natural. You want it to feel good.
But so many games seem to fall into the trap of, okay, well, now I got to
embark on your Titan. You do have to do that. So, it's what can you do to make it easy without putting you in a situation where you're like, hey, wait a minute, I didn't want to do that. Generally, if you're jumping up on the back of an enemy Titan, that's what you're going to want to do.
Yeah.
So it made sense to keep things like that flow very easily.
And before I let you go, obviously we're looking at the Xbox One version. It's out for PC as well, but we haven't seen anything on the 360 version. A lot of our Xbox players that maybe haven't made the jump to the new console yet. You announced your 360 developer. What can we expect from the 360 version as far as is it full feature parity? Is it the same game? Sort of what are we looking at if we grab it on 360?
We're obviously not talking much about the 360. It's being done by another developer.
Right.
They're doing a great job, but at the same time, they obviously are behind where we are because the nature of how it works.
Yeah, you're leading the way.
So I would say the goal was always to get it as close as possible. It's not going to be exact just because the systems are different.
Yeah.
I hope. So I think we need to wait and see how well they kind of pull it off, and then we'll.
Still 60 frames a second on 360, because that seems to be a big mantra for you.
Like I said, we don't. Until we see it in its final form, who knows?
I tried, Vince. I tried. Vince Zampella, the studio head, founder of Respawn. Titanfall shipping March 11th. We've got plenty more Titanfall coming for you in the coming days, weeks, and probably months right here on IGN. Thanks, Vince.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan.